Hi, everyone. So, if you remember, before spring break, we finished the Jack and Annie book where they were in Hawaii. That was book number 28. So, number 29, it's funny, we go from Hawaii to Christmas time. So, this one's called, it's book number 29, and it's called Christmas in Camelot. Ooh, so let's see what happens. All right, let's get to chapter 1 here. Chapter 1 is called A Royal Invitation. Sunlight had faded from the late afternoon sky. Puffy snow clouds were moving in. Let's hurry, I'm cold, said Jack. He and Annie were walking home from school. Their Christmas vacation was just beginning. Coo, coo. Wait, said Annie, look. She pointed to a white bird sitting on a bare tree branch at the edge of the woods. The bird was staring straight at them. It's a dove, said Jack. It's a messenger, said Annie, from Morgan. No, said Jack, afraid to get his hopes up, because they hadn't seen Morgan Le Fay in a long time, and he really missed her. Yes, said Annie, she has a mission for us. I can feel it. In the hush of the cold twilight, the dove spread its wings and flew into the Frog Creek woods. Come on, said Annie, the treehouse is back. No, you're just hoping, said Jack. No, I'm knowing, said Annie, and she ran into the woods following the white dove. Oh, brother, said Jack. But he took off after Annie anyway. Even in the growing darkness, they easily found their way. They zigzagged between the bare trees and ran over the frozen ground until they came to the tallest oak in the woods. See, said Annie, pointing to the top of the tree. Yeah, whispered Jack. There it was, the magic treehouse. Morgan, shouted Annie. Jack held his breath, waiting to see the enchantress at the treehouse window. But Morgan did not appear. Annie grabbed the rope ladder and started up, and Jack followed. When they climbed inside the treehouse, Jack saw something lying on the floor. It was a scroll rolled up and tied with a red velvet ribbon. Jack picked up the scroll and unrolled it. The thick, yellowed paper shimmered with large gold writing. Wow, Morgan said it's a really fancy note, said Annie. It's an invitation, said Jack. Listen. Oh, look, you can see a picture of the invitation there. It says, Dear Jack and Annie, please accept this royal invitation to spend Christmas in the kingdom of Camelot. Signed, M. Christmas in Camelot, said Annie. I don't believe it. Cool, said Jack. He pictured a beautiful glowing castle with lit candles filled with knights and ladies feasting and singing. We're going to celebrate Christmas with Morgan and King Arthur, said Annie, and Queen Guinevere. Yeah, said Jack, and the Knights of the Round Table, like Sir Lancelot. Let's go, said Annie. Where's the book? She and Jack looked around the treehouse for a book about Camelot. The only book they could find was a Pennsylvania book that always brought them home. That's strange, said Jack. Morgan didn't send a book about Camelot with a royal invitation. How does she expect us to get there? I don't know. Maybe she forgot. He picked up the invitation and he read it again. He turned it over, hoping to find more information. The back of the scroll was blank. He handed the invitation to Annie. I think she must have forgotten, he said. Oh man, said Annie, staring at the gold writing. I really wish we could go to Camelot. Well, then the tree branches rustled and the wind began to blow. What's happening? Said Jack. I don't know, said Annie. Wait a minute. You were holding the invitation and then you made a wish. Then the wind blew harder. That must have made the magic work, said Annie. Jack felt a surge of joy. We're going to Camelot, he said. The treehouse started to spin. Then it spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. And that takes us to chapter 2. And it's got this underlined. This is Camelot. Jack shivered. Ooh, he could see his breath in the light. Annie was staring out the window. This is Camelot, she said. Jack looked out with her. The treehouse had landed on a grove of tall, bare trees. A huge, dark castle loomed against the gray sky. There was no light shining from its windows. No banners were waving from its turrets. The wind whistled through its tall towers, sounding sad and lonely. It looks deserted, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. I sure hope we came to the right place. Jack pulled out his notebook and pencil out of his backpack. He wanted to write a description of the dark castle. I see someone, said Annie. He looked out the window again. A woman was crossing the castle drawbridge. She wore a long cloak and carried a lantern, and her white hair blew in the wind. So there's the tree house landing in the tree, the bare tree. And there's the entrance to the castle. And who is this lady? Yep, Morgan Le Fay. Morgan, said Annie and Jack together. They laughed with relief. Morgan hurried over to the frost-covered ground. Annie, Jack, is that you? Of course, who else do you think it would be? Said Annie, and she started to go down the treehouse. Jack threw his notebook in his backpack and followed Annie down the rope ladder. When they reached the icy ground, they ran to Morgan, and they both threw their arms around her. I was looking out a window in the castle, and I saw a bright flash of light in the orchard. What are you doing here? You didn't send the treehouse to get us? You sent a royal invitation to us for us to spend Christmas in Camelot with you. No, said Morgan, sounding alarmed. But the invitation, it was signed with the letter M. I don't understand, said Morgan. We are not celebrating Christmas in Camelot this year. You aren't? Why not? A look of sadness crossed over Morgan's face. Do you remember when you visited my library and when you gave King Arthur hope and courage to challenge his enemy? Oh, sure, said Jack. Well, Arthur's enemy was a man named Mordred, said Morgan. After you left, Arthur defeated him, but not before Mordred's dark wizard cast a spell over our whole kingdom. The spell robbed Camelot of all of its joy. All of its joy? Whispered Annie. Yes. For months, Camelot has been without music, without celebration, and without laughter. Oh, no, said Annie. What can we do to help? Said Jack. Morgan smiled sadly. This time, I don't think there's anything you can do. But perhaps it would lift Arthur's spirits to see you both again. Come inside. Let's go in the castle. Morgan held up her lantern and started toward the drawbridge. Jack and Annie hurried after her. As they walked through the outer courtyard, the frozen grass cracked under their sneakers. They followed Morgan over the bridge and through the tall gate. There were no signs of life in the castle's courtyard. Where is everyone? I don't know, said Jack. Jack really wished that he had a book about Camelot, because it might help him understand what's going on. Morgan led them to a huge archway with 2 wooden doors, and she stopped to look at them. I'm afraid no book would be able to help you tonight, Jack, she said. Jack was startled that Morgan had read his thoughts. Why not, said Annie. On all your other journeys, you visited real places that were real times and real history, but Camelot is different. How? Well, the story of Camelot is actually a legend, said Morgan. A legend is a story that begins in truth, but then imagination takes over. Different people in different times tell the story. They use their imaginations to add new parts. That is how a legend is kept alive. Well, tonight we will add our part, said Annie. Yes, said Morgan, and please, I beg you. In the lantern light, she looked very serious. Do not let the story of Camelot end forever. Keep our kingdom alive. Oh, of course we will, said Annie. Good, said Morgan. Come then, let's go into the great hall and see the king. Morgan lifted an iron latch and pushed open the heavy doors. Jack and Annie followed her into the dark castle. And there they are. Dun, dun, dun. That takes us to chapter 3 called The Knights of the Round Table. Ooh. So tune in tomorrow to find out what happens in chapter 3 and 4. Hope you enjoyed chapters 1 and 2. Right now I'm wondering who sent that invitation. If Morgan didn't send it, then who did? That has me really thinking. So let me know if you have any ideas. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.